Good evening, everyone. How's it all going? Excuse me, I have some business to attend to. Who have we got in this evening? Let me just take a look. We've got the Essex Cat. Bottleneck Bob is in. I've just been watching one of your videos, Bob. Ian Clark, James Steed, Chip Young, Patrick Becker, Dash Schaff, a lot of familiar names, and Aussie's in. How are you, Matthew? Matthew Lockwood, you're in. Dave Roberts from Cyprus, the usual crew. I hope everyone's had a tolerable week. I've certainly had a better week than last week. No nasty surprises from the taxman this week. Yes, indeed. So, let's just have a look. Yes, good evening, everyone. Good evening, Paul. Evening, Geronimo. Good evening, Brad. Yes. Anyway, let me tell you what we've got coming up on the channel in the in the next few days. We have got tomorrow. Do you remember that thing from Wednesday? That sort of funky, fusiony kind of thing that I did in the chord sequence video on Wednesday. Right. Well, I'm soloing over that tomorrow, and nice little bit of fusiony kind of soloing, and I show you how to do a couple of the twiddly licks that are in there. Break those down for you. Then on Monday, we are looking at a belter of a blues solo, contemporary blues, from Joanne Shaw Taylor. Been getting a lot of requests to do her stuff on the channel, so always happy to oblige. Then Tuesday, we are talking about, well, it's another one of these list videos where I just talk about my 5 favourite things in a particular category. And on Tuesday, we are talking about my 5 favourite recorded Stratocaster tones. Specific examples of a Strat being used on a track, that I just always go back to and always think, yeah, that's a great example of a Strat tone. Then on Wednesday, we're looking under the hood, under the bonnet, I suppose, depending which side of the pond you're from. But basically, we are looking at what's going on in a typical minor key blues. There's more going on there than you might think. Thursday, there is possibly going to be a review of this lovely little beast here. This is... the glare is too strong. It's a Glary Telecaster copy. It's essentially, do you remember I did that review of a Glary guitar, the Strat copy, a while ago now, wasn't it? Probably a few months ago. Well, that was the guitar, that Telecaster copy was the one that I actually wanted to do the review of, but they were out of stock. And a very, very kind chap called Andy contacted me last week and said, I've got one of those Glarys that you wanted that was out of stock. Do you want it? So I said, well, yes, of course, obviously. So he basically sent me the guitar, and I'm going to do the review on it. And then in the same way as I did with a Strat, I'm going to kind of try and add some value to it, and new pickups and maybe new tuners and electrics and stuff. I might even have a go at converting it to like a through body stringing kind of thing. It's just a top loader bridge at the moment, but basically just tart it up a little bit essentially, and then it will be going, of course, to Zoe's place for them to auction off and hopefully raise a bit of money from. So there you go. And then on Friday we're back on the beer again. So that's what's coming up on the channel this week. So yes, indeed. Let's have a read of some of the comments. Anyone have any favourite inlay designs for guitars? I was going to do some mother of pearl inlays on a bass and Bill. I'm not sure what to do though. My favourite inlay is my favorite type of inlay is the more sort of understated, classy kind of thing. You know, just little mother of pearl dots, or actually, my favorite inlays of all time actually were the ones that you don't seem to get much or at all now on PRS guitars. It's ages since I've seen them, which is, you know how the PRS, they're famous for those bird inlays. Well, do you remember the moon inlays where it was like the phases of the moon going up the neck? I thought that was just beautiful, just so classy. I always find the birds on a PRS just a little bit too gaudy for my taste, but hey, I understand. I'm in a minority there. What other inlays? I like the Crimson guitars do some nice inlays where Ben just does those concentric circles. They look pretty cool, I think. That's my sort of taste, you know, just sort of understated and classy. Yeah, I'm with you there, Johnny. I need the dots. You know, it's every time you pick up a classical guitar, isn't it? And there are no dots on the neck, and you feel like suddenly, you know, it's like somebody's removed all the road names on the street or something. You just don't know where you are. Yes, Robster. Yes, if you like ELO, then keep your eyes peeled on the channel. I'm going to be putting one of their solos under the microscope in the solo analysis videos, you know, reasonably soon. So I always think he was a very underrated, well, is a very underrated guitarist, Jeff Lynne. He's no shredder, but you know, he is, you know, he can rattle it when he chooses to. Yes, Deco, small diamond inlays. They look pretty classy. You know, it was just that sort of thing, wasn't it? I mean, somebody mentioned up in the chat earlier the Steve Vai Tree of Life. That was, you know, it was a thing of its time, wasn't it? You know, but my least favourite inlays also came from the Steve Vai Gem guitar. Do you remember those disappearing pyramid ones? They just looked awful, I thought. Yes, I think somebody there is talking about Peck, which was, you know, I don't know if you can still get Peck chopped pork. It was a bit like Spam, but not as classy. Evening, Gary. How are you, mate? Where are we? Yes, you've got it, Aussie. Yes, that's the solo. We're going to be looking at it, Mr. Blue Sky. For some reason, all the Chapman guitars over £500 have no dots on the fretboard except for a large symbol on the 12th. Yes, I've noticed that. I mean, I've tried, how many now? 3 Chapman guitars, and well, I don't want to slag anybody off. I don't want to kind of, you know, get into, because he does have his fan base, doesn't he, Mr. Chapman? But let's say they weren't the best examples of the luthier's craft that I saw. You know, it was difficult to see where the money had been spent. I just didn't like them, to be honest with you. They were, I think what let them down more than anything else was that they were, okay, Jason, gotcha, mate. Yes. I think what let the Chapman guitars down that I've tried is 3 out of 3 were appallingly badly set up out of the box. You know, so hey ho. Where are we? Not as classy as Spam fish bait then. Oh, you see, Spam is another one of those things. We were talking about Marmite a couple of weeks back. Spam is another one of those things that does draw a dividing line down our house. You know, I love Spam fritters. You know, spam in a bit of batter, fried with chips. Oh dear me, loads of ketchup. Dear me, it's I'm salivating just thinking about it. But my missus has to be out of the house. She says, you're not cooking that filthy stuff while I'm in the house, so I don't get to eat it that often, it has to be said. Yeah, I agree with you there, Matthew. You know, I know you had what was it, a solar guitar that you were quite the quality control on it wasn't the best. I don't really feel qualified to comment on solo guitars. A, because I've never played one, and B, because I'm not exactly the target market for a solo guitar, am I? You know, I'm not exactly the world's biggest metalhead. Evening, Craig. How are you, mate? Oh yes, spam and bacon sarnie capo. Yes, that's a good one as well, isn't it? Anyway, let's get the conversation. Excuse me, just need more beer. Let's get the conversation away from tinned processed meat that comes in a can, and let's talk about guitars. Excuse me. There we go. Let's see if I can get a decent head on this. Getting there. We're getting there. Come on. Yeah, I've done worse than that. I've done worse. Anyway. So, I'm going to be doing, as I said on Tuesday, I'm going to be doing the video on my 5 favourite Strat tones, and then there's going to be my 5 favourite recorded Telecaster tones, and then obviously Les Paul, and possibly 335. But beyond that, and maybe Rickenbacker as well, you know, Rickenbacker tones, because they have an identifiable sound. I think it's a little bit possibly difficult to say that, you know, once you've got like sort of a Les Paul tone, a Strat tone, a Telecaster tone, 335 tone, and maybe a Rickenbacker sound. Can you think of any other guitars that have as, you know, kind of instantly recognizable sound as those guitars? Because maybe Brian May, Trisonics, yeah, fair enough. But beyond that, it's like those are the classic guitar sounds, aren't they, really, when you think about it? And, you know, every advance in, you know, kind of electric guitar technology since, well, when was the latest one of those? I guess, you know, possibly all of those guitars date from, I guess, the 50s and 60s, don't they? You know, it's difficult to think of any new instantly recognizable guitar tone that's come out since then. Yeah, EMG's fair enough, Matthew. But thing I would say is, I mean, I don't know if you know Andy Power, Matthew, but he's a fantastic guitarist. Andy, for years, he's a big guitarist on the circuit around here, has played a Strat with EMG pickups. Thing is, it still sounds like the Strat, just a more hi-fi version of a Strat. John, you should do a montage of your top 10 live stream beer pause. Yeah, and people will probably watch it as well. Some people have too much time on their hands. Yeah, possibly Gretsch. Possibly Gretsch. The thing I always think about Gretsch's, though, is, I mean, I've always thought that Telecasters and Gretsch's sound incredibly alike. Does anybody remember that that British rockabilly band from the early 80s? 3 brothers called, and the band was called the Jets. And every other rockabilly band that was around at the time, the Stray Cats, the Pole Cats, and there was a bunch of other bands that all had the word cats in their name. You know, they were all using Gretsch guitars. And the guy out with the Jets was using a Telecaster. and sounded identical. You know, I always think you can get a pretty good Gretsch sound out of a Telecaster, is what I'm saying. Dave Gilmore does indeed use it. Well, he has the EMGs in his red Strat, doesn't he? In that candy apple red Strat. I'm not sure what was in the black Strat, the famous one that was on like the, you know, kind of Dark Side of the Moon and the Wall and stuff. Moss Wright, yes, that's a brand I'd completely forgotten. I've never played a Moss Wright guitar. SG with P90s, yeah, fair enough. An SG with P90s, that's pretty much the Iommi sound, isn't it? But then again, does that sound markedly different from a Les Paul with P90s? I was surprised the famous Pink Floyd solo was Gibson P90, not normal single coils. Yes, indeed. I was surprised when I heard that as well. And apparently that, I think you're referring to Another Brick on the Wall, Another Brick in the Wall even. Apparently that solo was just a gold top P90 Les Paul plugged straight into the desk. No amp involved. Were the Jets from Northampton? I have no idea, Johnny. Couldn't tell you, mate. Why are guitars so badly set up from the factory? Has it always been this way, except for the really pricey ones? It's always been a bit pot luck, really. You know, there has. I mean, I've seen a couple of you know, Fenders recently. You know, I'm talking not USA Fenders, but the Mexican ones, the Player Series, that are, you know, arguably Fender's, you know, flagship model, the Player Series Strat and the Player Series Telly. That's the one that is, well, it's the replacement for the standard range, isn't it? And 2 or 3 of those I've seen lately have had really bad fret sprout. And Phil McKnight did a video this week about it, and he's saying that manufacturers now are taking, you know, basically kind of excluding fret sprout from the warranty, saying, oh, well, it's all environmental, you know, concerns. It's like, you know, a guitar built in this environment, then shipped to that environment, the wood can kind of contract and you get fret sprout. Well, yes, that is a cause of fret sprout, but it's also fret sprout is also caused just by the frets not being finished properly, and that is what's happening in a lot of cases. And it's always been a bit pot luck. You know, it's why I got you know, gradually over the years accumulated some basic setup skills, so that when you got a guitar, you could actually make it playable. Yeah, humidity is a thing, Chris. You know, as I say, but I think this whole kind of thing of, oh, well, it was made in a humid environment, it's gone to a dry environment, and therefore bad setup. I think that is used as a bit of a get out of jail free card by you know, a lot of manufacturers these days. Yep, it's the thing is though. I mean, you know, that, where is it? This glaring here, right? One of these, or maybe a Harley Benton TE20 or something like that. You can buy one of these for about 75, 80 quid. And, you know, maybe factor in the same sort of money again on buying some tools. And, you know, that is, and watch a few videos on YouTube, and it's the price of an education. You know, it's certainly a lot cheaper than, you know, paying to do a course on, you know, guitar setup. You know, I mean, I learned all of my sort of guitar fettling skills before the age of the internet, and it was just a case of figuring it out, and guitar magazines, and asking people, and picking people's brains and stuff. And you know, you just make a mess of it a few times. But the thing I've always said is, okay, so you make a mess of it, then you've got to pay to take it to a guitar tech to have it sorted out. But you're going to pay to take it to a guitar tech to have it sorted out anyway. So why not have a go? You might learn something. Oh, congratulations, Jeff. You got a new guitar. What is it, mate? Evening, Kieran. How are you? How are you, my friend? How much fret buzz acoustically do you usually put up with in a guitar? I have quite a high tolerance for fret buzz. As long as I take the view that an electric guitar is designed to be played through an amplifier or through some form of amplification, and it's the sound that comes out of the speaker that matters at the end of the day. You know, so if there's a little bit of unplugged fret buzz, then that doesn't worry me one jot. John, have you ever heard of Firefly guitars? They're supposedly good budget guitars. Yes, I have, mate, and I've been trying to get my hands on one for a while, but I'm struggling to get one in the UK. Most of the reviewers I've seen, there's a I think Guitar Max, you know, the Max as in MAXXX. He's done a few reviews of them. I seem to remember him doing a review of a lovely 335 style one. And, you know, I've been trying to get my hands on one, but they're not very easy to get hold of in the UK. I think that they're on Amazon in the US. Evening, Steve. How are you? Yeah. Be careful with the truss rod. Yes, you're right there, Steve. But the thing is, the truss rod tells you when you're being a bit of a spanner with it, you know. If it turns nice and freely and, you know, you're not feeling like you're putting any strain on it, then, you know, as long as you go like a quarter turn or so, or maybe an eighth of a turn, as long as you go easy on it and you don't, you know, be an idiot with it, then you're fine. But if the truss rod is kind of saying, no, I don't want to turn anymore, no, it's not a good idea, you know, if you're meeting a lot of resistance with a truss rod, then, yeah, just don't push it. Apparently all second-hand guitars are going up a fair bit in price at the moment. Really? I didn't know that. I haven't seen that. Well, given that I've got a second-hand guitar, as you can see, just over there, that's the Epiphone Les Paul that's going to be on its way to its new owner next week. I don't know who that is yet because the auction's still running. It's up on eBay at the moment. So that's going to be heading off to its new home in the next few days. I guess I'll be sad to see it go, really, because it is now a nice guitar. It's compared to Epiphones I've played in the past, now it's set up right. It is a lot closer to the genuine article, i.e. a Gibson, than Epiphones I've tried in the past. It's just I'm not really a Les Paul kind of guy, really. Yeah, there are loads of setup videos on YouTube. It's nothing to be scared of. And as I say, just buy a cheap Glary or a Harley Benton TE20 or a Squire Bullet or something and practice on that. You know, as I say, it's if you buy the tools, you know, and buy decent tools. Don't, you know, I mean, get yourself Crimson guitar tools are pretty good, or Stu Mac or something like that. Don't buy the cheap things that you see for, you know, like the nut files are just get a good set of nut files. Don't buy the ones that you can see on eBay for a tenner because they will make such a mess of your nut. You know, buy a decent set of nut files, fret leveling beam, crowning file, fret rocker, fret end file, and, you know, just the best investment, actually, talking about Crimson stuff, is their fret erasers. Brilliant for just bringing your frets up to a really good shine. Yeah, David. Yeah, buy a cheap guitar kit and learn on that. I couldn't agree more, mate. Great vid by Randy Shartiger. Help your truss rod. Clamps a long piece of wood to help bend the neck. Okay, fair enough. I have seen that probably the most unorthodox setup videos I've seen are by Sam Deeks, where he uses a truss rod as a fret leveling thing, where you can basically level the frets with the neck under tension with the strings on it, and you kind of use a truss rod with sandpaper on it to kind of match the kind of relief of the neck, which is what do you use to tape it off? Says Matthew. I use this stuff, just the regular kind of blue masking tape. It's just got that little bit more kind of grab on it than the sort of beige stuff, and tends not to come unstuck. Jim Heath of the Reverend Horton Heat is also underrated. He lights up his Gretsch and gets a huge... Yes. One of my students, a chap called Robert Bryant, turned me on to Reverend Horton Heat recently. And, I often say I don't get a lot of time to watch YouTube videos, but every spare moment recently has been watching Reverend Horton Heat. What a brilliant idea, Kieran. Spirit level with sandpaper on the bottom. I think I saw, what's his name? Guns and Guitars guy. I think I saw him doing that. Watch Fabian's workshop on YouTube. Shows you how to level and crown a guitar with wood blocks and sandpaper. Yep. Well, as I say, I've got a... Hang on a sec, I'll show you it. This is my leveling file. Served me well for many a year. And the trick is to use no pressure. Get the Sharpie line on top of the frets, and then use no pressure. You're just kind of moving it along until all the felt tip mark has disappeared completely from each fret, and then your frets are level. And as I say, bought this years ago, and it seems to work for me, so that's what I use. You were lucky with your V100. Yeah, those vintage guitars, I think I'm right in saying, I don't think I've ever played a bad one. I really don't. Straight out of the box, they've all had, a pretty good setup straight out of the box, and well, Trev Wilkinson, he knows his stuff, doesn't he? And I don't know how involved he is in the final setup of all the guitars. I suspect, well, obviously he's not going to play them all, but I do think that when he puts his name on something, there's usually some kind of input that he has. What was that? How often do your frets need sorting with a regularly played guitar? Well, my regular guitar, that was the guitar I used from about, 1990 through to about 2005, 2006. The one I gigged with, the one I did all my lessons with and everything, was a Japanese Fender Strat, one of the 60s reissue ones. And that had a refret not long after I got it, because I didn't like the skinny vintage fret wire, and I got it refretted with jumbo frets after about a year. And I think it had one fret dress in all the time after that. There weren't stainless steel frets that were put in it. They were just regular nickel frets. And as I say, lasted a good, let's say, 15 years with one fret dress. And that was a guitar that was getting a lot of work and worked really hard. Repairing a twisted neck is a bit more advanced, yes. But then, you see, Dave, you come to the Leo Fender ethos, that why he designed guitars with bolt-on necks. If you had a problem with the neck, you unbolted it and threw it away and got a new one. I love playing guitars but hate working on them, just like I enjoy women but have zero interest in chafing one. Yes, okay, Truman. Fair enough. I wondered where you were going with that. You see, it's one of the things I've always loved is just tinkering. Before I was ever into guitars, well, not quite true, but at the same sort of time as I was tinkering with guitars, I was interested in electronics, and I used to love building stuff. I remember building a radio, and my first effects pedal I ever had was a fuzz pedal that I built. Didn't sound very good, but I built it, from I think Practical Electronics or Hobby Electronics magazine. Wife got a jab the other day. Her arm was stiff and swollen. Accompanied me to the vac centre and asked the nurse if there was any way. Yeah, I think I know where you're going with that one, mate. Yes, I'm due for me lurgy jab on Wednesday, and by all accounts, a mate of mine just had his. The doctor said, or whoever it was that jabbed him said, well, we can't tell you to do this, but we can strongly advise you to not drink alcohol for a week afterwards. So if that's the case, then you might just see me on the live stream next week with a pint of Ribena or something. I love working on my guitars. It makes me bond with the guitars. Yeah, there is that. Yeah, there is. If you've kind of had the guitar to bits and you've got inside it and there is a certain satisfaction. And, again, with that Les Paul, that Epiphone Les Paul, it's one of the reasons I'm sad to see it go, because, it turned up in a shocking state, it has to be said. And now it plays absolutely beautifully. And, it's like, yeah. It would be nice to enjoy the fruits of my labour a little bit. No way is that going to happen, John on Ribena. Okay, Chris, they didn't tell you not to drink alcohol after your jab. Right, well, okay. You are now officially appointed as my medical advisor. So there you go. John, which three pedals could you not do without? I don't own the only one pedal I couldn't do without, I've said this before, is this one. This is a knackered old crybaby wah pedal. It's got no guts in it, but I use it as a footrest when I'm playing. I tend usually to use, when I'm playing live, it's just guitar, amp, clean, dirty. That's all I need. And when I'm recording, I just tend to rely upon, if I want a bit of reverb or chorus or something, I just use a plugin, so I don't really have pedal, the kind of pedal thing. It is a very recent thing, I think. Or let me rephrase that. It is a relatively recent thing. This whole kind of, this pedal, that pedal, the other pedal, the idea that you can spend hundreds of pounds on a pedal, I just find a bit bizarre, especially, as I said, I was a long time reader of guitar magazines throughout the 80s and 90s, and more than once I saw articles predicting the demise of the phenomenon of the effects pedal. in about 1987, there was a Guitar Magazine article that predicted that, within 10 years, rack effects are going to become so affordable that everybody's just going to have an effects rack. Pedals will be redundant. Yeah, there's nothing quite so dated as predictions like that, is it? But this whole kind of thing of boutique pedals and everything, it's a relatively modern kind of thing, and I can't help thinking there is a bit of a fashion element to it, to be honest. Yeah, a lot of people say a good EQ pedal is perhaps the most important one to have. Yeah. I would say that if you need an EQ pedal to get your tone right, then perhaps you're using the wrong guitar and the wrong amp. But there you go. I mean, I've used pedals in the past, Tube Screamer, Marshall Governor, like for overdrive pedals and stuff. But again, these days, it's like if I can't get the sound out of the amp, then, or the amp model that I'm using, then I tend to just use a different amp or model. One of the original clones would be nice, into the multiple thousands now. Yeah, again, I think we all probably saw that Music is Win video where he spent $5,000 on a clone pedal. I just don't get it, to be honest with you. For gigging musicians, pedals are a necessity. Well, I was a gigging musician for, dear me, from the mid-80s to the late 90s. And on and off since then. And I can't really say pedals were a necessity for me then, and I was playing in blues bands, I was playing in top 40 bands, I was playing in cabaret bands, I was playing in country bands, I was playing in indie bands. Truth is, I was playing across a wide variety of bands. And when you're in a big venue and your guitar sound is kind of competing with drums and keyboards and stuff like that, the finer details of the sound tend to just kind of get a little bit lost. And does it matter that there isn't flange or chorus on that clean, funky part? Well, perhaps on a recording, then yes, but in front of a bunch of punters who are just there dancing, then possibly not. Eric Johnson has Hendrix's actual wear. A lot of rated players say great tones are in the fingers. Well, I don't know so much in the fingers. It's certainly in the kind of feel that you have with the instrument, when knowing that sort of sense of how to play dynamically and loud and soft, and use the guitar's volume control. And for me, that's what's always served me well. Got any band pics? You should do a video of the bands you've played in. Oh, dear me. That would be an interesting one, wouldn't it? I don't have any pictures. Just those were all kind of, I just don't know. You never thought about kind of keeping the picture. You as a band, you got photos done for the poster and for the, for the publicity packs and stuff like that. And, it's just, I don't know. I shall have a sort through, because, my mother sadly passed away, oh dear me, about 13 years ago now, and she had all kinds of pictures of me and various things. So all of those are up in the loft. I'll have a sort through and see what pictures she collected of me. But my favourite guitarist, Paul Kossoff, didn't use any pedals. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to sound like I'm on a downer with pedals. If you love the sound that you get that you get from your guitar, and you've got like kind of a bazillion pedals on your pedal board, then good luck to you. You know, it's just for me, it was always, you know, oh, I've got to kind of hit that one, I've got to turn that one off, and I've got to turn that one on, and you know, all the tap dancing routine. If I can get a sound that suits or that fits the context of the track, just either by switching from a clean to a dirty tone, 1-foot switch, or even better, just doing it with me fingers on the guitar's volume control and tone controls, then that's easier for me. And you know, I'm lazy, and the easier way is always the better way. Where are we? Yeah, the rock stage is a really good little thing. That to be honest with you, if I was going to, I suppose the one boon of pedals is that if you're playing in that kind of band where, you know, you just have to turn up and plug into whatever's there, whatever backline is provided, then having some sort of pedal board that will give you, you know, as close as damn it to your actual sound, then, you know, then that is when I can see that would be useful. But, you know, if I was going to get something, again, the Sonic 8 rock stage, something that Ozzy turned me on to, you know, great sounding thing, which again responds well from the volume control. Spotted a truck the other day, and on the back the advertisement said Peter Green chilled, and I thought, yay. I tried to take a picture of the audience at Cargo Fleet Club. Shouldn't have been surprised. They were all vampires. Sucked the life out of me every time we played there. Yes, I know Cargo Fleet Club there. Yes, played it many times. That was, I think it was Cargo Fleet Club, that there was a sign in the dressing room saying, these are songs you must not play. You know, there were songs that used to get the audience a little bit rowdy, and they would start kind of, you know, dancing on the tables and stuff, and the committee did not approve. Good evening, from everyone from Liverpool, says Paul Trainer. Well, good evening from Redcar. Pedals on your bike. Sonic 8 rock stage is great because all the effects go together really well. Not a multi-effects unit, but 4 pedals in one housing. Yeah, that's exact. I'll tell you what it sounded like to me, because I tried one months ago, Ozzy, on your recommendation, mate. It was the closest thing I could think of or get the sound of to the old 80s Tom Scholz Rockman. You know, it was very, very easy to dial in that sound. All effort to get a good tone quickly goes out the window when the sound man tells you to turn down to 1. Yes. Yes, I've been in a few bands where the sound man is, well, he's the sound man because he's the drummer's brother, or he's the sound man because he's the singer's boyfriend, you know, or that kind of thing, you know, and just somebody who doesn't play an instrument and can't sing but wants to be involved in the band. And, you know, I remember once joining a band where I had I was using the Marshall 30th anniversary combo at the time, and that had a brilliant speaker simulated line out, you know, and just got my sound absolutely fantastic. Just great sound, just dead easy for the sound man. Just plug an XLR into the back of the amp, and boom, you're good to go. You've got your signal, and no miking up or anything. And this sound guy, he, you know, he didn't know it was a line level output, and you know, he had the desk set to a mic level input, and it was like I said, all you got to do, all you got to do is turn that switch to line level rather than mic level. Oh no, it'll break the desk, and then he mic'd me up with a Tandy or Realistic. Do you remember that brand, Realistic, from Tandy? A little condenser mic the sort of thing that comes with a tape recorder. And consequently, I didn't get a very good guitar sound at that gig. I know someone who worked for Greenie towards the end, and he has a few stories to tell, John. Okay, fair enough. Well, are you going to share? Hey, John, how much of what you've learned in the past on the guitar do you remember? I find if something isn't practiced now and then, it starts to get slightly forgotten. Well, you see, this kind of speaks to how you learn stuff, doesn't it? Because if you learn a load of stuff and then never use it, then you're going to forget it. And this, this is what I talk about, like memorizing the neck and the fretboard and stuff like that. If you just learn it and then never ever use it, then you're going to it's just going to desert you. People say, how much do you need to learn? How much theory do you need to know? Well, as much theory to understand and remember what you're playing at any given moment. For me, learning the theory side of things is all about making what I'm playing easier to remember, so I don't have to memorize it, so I can just understand it, and then it becomes obvious. I can't really think that there's anything that I've ever learned that I've forgotten how to play or how to use, because it's all been stuff that I've used. John, would you agree that the sound man always gives support band a bad sound so the main act can sound better? I wouldn't say always, but it is something that I've noticed. We're talking about Andy Power earlier, fantastic guitar player. Search him down on YouTube. He's in a band at the moment called The Addiction, and it's all kind of poppy, soul, kind of Motowny sort of stuff at the moment, but occasionally he does let rip with a fantastic solo. Anyway, the band he was in at the time, the Rhythm and Blues All-Stars, they did a support gig for, I can't remember who it was, but you could tell, whenever Andy went into a solo, the sound guy would just turn the fader down, and you could see him playing a belter of a solo, but there was, you couldn't hear it. It happens. I would like to think that that there is a sense of professionalism amongst sound engineers. I tell you, when I went to see Gary Moore, funnily enough, yes, I went to see Gary on his Still Got the Blues tour. The support act then was the Larry McRae band, and they just sounded absolutely beltingly good. I mean, like, just beautiful. I don't hear of them that much these days, but they were like kind of a soul R&B blues rock kind of band, and fantastic band. And they sounded so that the sound guy on that tour, on Gary's tour, certainly didn't give the support band a bum deal. Notes on the neck and notes in the chords is key. Something you and Andy Power told me, says Craig. Yes, it is a bit of a bizarre thing. If you were to say to any other musician other than a guitarist, can you play your instrument without knowing what notes you're playing? They would look at you as though, what? Well, of course you can't. You've got to know what notes you play. You've got to know where the notes are in your instrument. How can you play it otherwise? But it is like such a bizarre thing about guitars. I once had a student quit. Oh, this is back in the 90s. Because I happened to say, I wasn't hammering the point home. I wasn't kind of making a big deal of it. I said, one of the things you're going to learn with me is you're going to learn, what notes you're playing, and you're going to understand what those notes, what relationship those notes have to the chords you're playing over, what notes are in the chords. You're basically going to become note aware. And he quit because, I don't want to learn that. That's being too analytical. That's that's going to take all the fun out of playing the guitar. And it's just a guitarist thing. What's the dominant chord of the Christian faith? G sus. Yes, badumsh. Yeah, bass player knows the fretboard. Well, you have to as a bass player, because you have to know where all. If you're playing a G chord, or if the guitarist playing a G chord, you've got to know where the G note is on the neck, haven't you? You've got to know a little bit more about where individual notes are, because as a bass player, it's your job to play individual notes. Yes, David. I was a big fan of the late great Jeff Healey, and I saw him again at the same venue I saw Gary Moore at, actually, Newcastle City Hall. And he was blindingly good, if you'll excuse the pun. It was on the Hell to Pay tour, and he played pretty much the entire See the Light album, and then kind of a few selected tracks off the Hell to Pay album. And just it was incredible to watch, because just watching somebody playing the guitar across the lap like that, it was just you kind of seeing this guy doing this, and it was like, I shouldn't be hearing what I'm hearing given what I'm seeing. It just looked so like watching water running uphill. It was a fantastic night, and what a player. I've had a sound engineer deliberately take the volume down. I could not be heard, so I just thrutched up the amp volume, and then we had a bit of a set to after my set. Yeah, it's, as I say, especially on the kind of circuit where I've played, which is sort of the Northeast club circuit for many years. It was, the sound guy was often just somebody that wanted to be in a band but couldn't play an instrument, so they became a roadie, and then there you go. They weren't best qualified to do the job. No, I didn't. I still have to do that. Somebody's asking there. Pablo is asking, did I check out Jeff Healey's jazz work? I haven't. It's on my to-do list. And I shall be, thank you for reminding me, I shall be doing that. Aldi Meola. Well, what can you say about Aldi Meola? I mean, apart from being a fantastic guitar player, he came out with one of the funniest quotes. I can think of somebody at a clinic once was asking him about, do you use alternate picking or economy picking? And he looked at them and said, economy picking? Is that one down from business class picking? Yeah. I mean, fantastic. Not, it has to be said, at the center of me radar. But I've got an album of his somewhere, and when I'm in the right mood for it, it's just virtuoso. It's kind of that sort of neoclassical meets jazz meets fusion, and just the technique that he has is just. John, what songs were banned at the club? Well, this was round about the time when Living Next Door to Alice was having a bit of a resurgence with the alternative version by Roy Chubby Brown, and you weren't allowed to play that. You weren't allowed to play You'll Never Walk Alone, which I don't know how many bands actually play that. And what was another one you weren't allowed to play at Cargo Fleet Club? Oh, that was it. Yes, it was round about this sort of time. There was it was when do you remember those Levi's jeans ads were kind of doing the kind of reboots of a bunch of old tunes, and one of them was Should I Stay or Should I Go by The Clash, and you weren't allowed to play that because that was punk. Yeah, Stairway to Heaven. We didn't play it. I mean, I have seen a band. I wasn't in the band, but I was at a gig where the band was played Stairway to Heaven, and the concert secretary, the committee man in charge of the sound system, or in charge of the power rather, actually just killed the power on them for playing it, which I've always thought is a bit odd. Really, he is something, right? If you're in a blues band and you playing at a blues venue, and if you were to play Hoochie Coochie Man or The Thrill Is Gone, or, you know, One Bourbon, One Scotch, One Beer, Boogie Chillin', any blues classic, right, then the audience are going to be receptive and they're going to love what you're doing. If you are in a jazz band and you play Autumn Leaves or So What, or, you know, My Funny Valentine, or any jazz standard, you know, whatever, again, the audience are going to love it. But if you're in a rock band and you play certain rock songs, not necessarily all of them, but certain rock songs, Stairway to Heaven being one of them, then it's almost seen as sacrilege. And I just don't get that. I just don't get why a rock audience don't want to hear certain rock classics. And ultimately, it's going to be, you know, if you want to keep the music alive and keep it fresh, then I think you need to have reinterpretations of it. Somebody's asking, what's for dinner tonight? Kebabs. What's my opinion of the late Larry Coryell? I absolutely adore Larry Coryell. One of my favourite albums is Cedars of Avalon. What an album. Fantastic, fantastic albums. Yeah. I remember I got into Larry Coryell through his Column and Guitar Player magazine in the 80s. When I took my dad to see Chubby Brown in Blackpool. Never understand a word. We're from Glasgow. I didn't realise he had that strong an accent. Yeah, I mean, Chubby is the Teesside comedian, isn't he? You know, I've got to tell you, I'm not his biggest fan, but you know, I don't dislike him, but he's just sometimes I just think he relies on shock value. The Screaming Beavers did a great version of Lido Shuffle. Do you know, that's a song I've always wanted to cover, Lido Shuffle. I've been in a few bands and we've tried it out and tried to do covers of it, but it's a really difficult song to sing. You've got to have a real kind of top flight singer to do that whoa, oh, 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 oh bit in the chorus. Fantastic song. I'd love to do a cover of that. Where are we? He talks so fast live. Are you talking about me, mate? I think it's this that might be making me talk fast. I used to play Twin Neck, and we were always asking if we're going to play Stairway. We never did. No, did you play Hotel California though? The best version of Stairway to Heaven, other than, you know, the sacrosanct one, the Led Zeppelin one, check out Frank Zappa's version of it. I think it was from, I don't know if it appeared on an album, but it certainly was on his live tour in the late 80s, 87, 88. He does a reggae version of Stairway to Heaven. I mean, talk about, you know, kind of being irreverent, you know, a reggae version of Stairway to Heaven with Jimmy Page's guitar solo played by a horn section. Thank you, Johnny. Yes, the recently added small print. That's not going on all videos. That's just going on review videos. Where are we? Hart does a great version of Zeppelin tunes. I haven't heard the Hart version of Stairway to Heaven, I have to say. Okay, John, Chubby Brown spoke too fast. Did you ever hear any of the awesome Glasgow bands of the 80s, Scheme and If Only, good examples? No, but I will make sure to check them out. Fake Thackeray does a version as an intro to the Carlsford Ladies Magic Circle. Okay, well, fair enough, mate. There's a lot to unpack there. The best band you've never heard by Zept had Stairway on it. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, Craig, I'm with you there. Billy Connolly, I saw him live in Edinburgh a few years back. My wife, Jackie, she bought us tickets as a birthday present for me, and it was an incredibly funny gig. There's a lot of good comedians about at the moment. You wouldn't know it watching TV because not many of them make it onto TV, but I've seen Dara O'Brien a couple of times, and he is so funny live. I don't care for him on TV, but live he is incredibly funny. Kevin Bridges, Sarah Millican, she just absolutely makes me crack up. Mickey Flanagan, there's a comedian I would love to see live. Coolest woman front of band, Debbie Harry. Yeah, you have to go a long way to beat Debbie Harry as being, kind of the front and centre persona of a band as a female, wouldn't you? Yes, The Fast Show. Apparently Johnny Depp's favourite comedy show. There you go. By Zapper, not Zapped. Spell check. Yes, the joys of spell check. I always have to sort that out on any new. As you know, last week I got a new laptop, and just the email app on that laptop does the same as every email program I've ever used. You type Redcar, it always comes out as Reducer. Jason Manford, there's another comedian. He was talking about he'd written some really kind of strong email to a customer services department, like real nasty complaint kind of about bad customer services. And he was saying, and he hit send, and he realised that it changed his name from Jason Manford to Jason Mangos. What do you think of Randy Bachman? Played with the Guess Who and Bachman Turner Overdrive. I would be lying if I said I had a strong opinion, to be honest. I know American Woman by the Guess Who, and I know You Ain't Seen Nothing Yet by Bachman Turner Overdrive. So I can't really base a big, an informed opinion on those two tracks. Have you heard of Mountain Mississippi Queen? Of course I have. Leslie West, dearie me. Again, another guitar player I'm going to be featuring on the channel at some point. I'm looking to do something from Nantucket Sleigh Ride at some point. Anyway, chaps, I'm getting hungry and there's a kebab on the way and I'm on my last beer. So we're going to wrap things up here. And I'll just say thank you once again for turning up on a Friday evening. Give me an hour of your time to sit and watch a fat, bald lad talk cobblers for an hour and get slightly intoxicated. It's been a blast. It always has. And I'll see you tomorrow on the next video. But for now, time, gentlemen, please.